Friends, it's Friday night. Friday night with Stash. I have a smorgasbord of thoughts to share with anybody who feels like stopping by. Hope everybody is alright out there. And that you're digging the self-isolation. Or if you're out there working, I don't know if you can look at the YouTube. Maybe you're a deep operative security guard. Maybe you're a security guard at a facility that allows you to partake in YouTube. And you've come upon this channel by mistake. So, I'll be aimlessly ranting tonight for a while, so get your headphones on and could assist you with sleep if you're able to have access to sleep at this moment. Because my YouTube's getting weirder and more random. So, I recently checked out some binge watching on the Mr. Robot. About Mr. Robot, I overused the article. I can't believe they didn't call me to be one of the bad guys on that show. It is fantastic. It's Christian Slater. And Rami. I can't forget his last name. Fantastic. Fantastic. He's going to be in the next James Bond that's on hold because of the pandemic. And they're not crazy. It's Rami Malek. They're young. They're antisocial. They're programmers. As Biden said, if you don't want to work in the Rust Belt, write code. The actors in the show are fantastic. I would say the kind of paranoia from it very much matches the 9/11, the Boston Marathon, the Stuxnet attack that was focused on the nuclear power plants of Iran, and yet it went amok and traveled into China, Russia, around the United States. To the best of my knowledge, it knocked off the centrifuges of the Iranians and was quite successful in that regard. Yeah. Two-ball cane. Mr. John D. himself. How are you, carnivore? Oh. Yes, right. Bond. Bond is Dr. D. There's no doubt about it. They have the same cipher number. Anyway, tonight, carnivore, we're going to be talking about Mr. Robot, Incognito is by David Eagleman. That's Eagleman, David Eagleman. Going to be going to that and rambling about the remote viewing a bit. I already did that, remote view the coronavirus. Apparently there's not a lot of cats tracking that, trying that. I was trying to reach out to some people on that. They haven't gotten back to me. Anyway, Mr. Robot has this feeling of that kind of thing that we all now have when these horrible events happen, like the Boston Marathon, or actually they even did it. I think it was 911 days after 9/11. There was a big hit in Spain or something like that. And I don't know what. And there was a New World Order speech by Bush in a certain amount of years. And New World Order. I think that was on September 11th after the successful Desert Storm operation, I believe. I have to rework that, but there's a lot of numerology, of course, that people love. I think love. I hate to use that word love. I see everybody on the social media, when these things happen, it'll say a date, like the such and such date of the Boston Marathon, 9/11 date, uh, and then the flag of the nation of which the horrible thing occurred will pass over people's pictures, and then people get on and go thoughts and prayers, and then they say to the opposing political group, they say, I don't believe those idiots aren't doing anything. Yeah, it's a good book. Incognito is about the brain. Um, Basically, things like the athletes go into the zone and they don't think, or the greatest composers seem to download it. A lot of people think it's a spiritual thing. There's a lot of some people look upon that negatively. Like a heavy metal guy will say, "I wrote this song and it just seemed to come to me." And well, of course, they'll make the argument. I don't blame maybe the evangelical persons will say, "Well, he was possessed by Satan and so forth," which it could be. But in the scientific sense, it's the athletes, the artists, the music people, different people engaged in genius activity, work hard enough. They have a vision, and they're doing it almost 24/7, and they over a period of time they access the unconscious. That's what basically he's talking about. That's the key. What else do they talk about? This thing that is a favorite of neurological experts, neurologists, scientists, and shrinks. The idea that the eyes and the sense organs are very much aided by the brain. That there's cases of people who've had their eyesight restored, and they still really can't see because the mind, the brain, there's gaps in it, and much of the perceptions are filled in by the brain, which the author of Incognito describes the brain as trapped in a dark skull, and so there's a whole mix. The senses and the brain work together. The cells themselves are as complicated as the universe and so forth. He didn't really go too much off the top of my head into that holographic view of the brain, but it's a must read, Incognito. If you've ever wanted to kind of follow up on the neuralistic, yeah, NLP. That's very much discussed in this last book. Also, I was reading by Stanislav Grof. Egelman and Incognito doesn't go much into the NLP science. It's just he's a neuroscientist. I don't think he poo-poos it. I don't know how much he discusses in this book. He's more like he's it's for the much backed up science, which I have a respect for, but it pisses me off in certain aspects because the scientists are narrower than they care to admit. So in general, we're at least aware that our minds do the best they can. Marvin Minsky's Society of the Mind. It's one interesting installment in this book is how he kind of challenges the notion that say, for instance, computers are absolutely vastly superior to the power of the brain. And he does cite the chess match between Deep Blue and Deep Blue and Gary Kasparov. He makes a note that the IBM computer really has to use a lot of energy and a tremendous amount of heat to compete with Kasparov, where his sort of stayed cold. I know the chess man himself said he's really impressed with his computer, blah blah blah. But I don't know what the ratio was. I don't think Deep Blue beat him every time. And this author makes the point that again the computer got really hot. It really heated up, used a lot of energy, and Kasparov's brain energy was normal. So despite this, a lot of talk about how AI is going to take over, superior to man. Elon Musk, we're going to need to download technology into our brain. Still, this organic piece of matter the computers are in many aspects nowhere close to the power of the brain. I don't know off the hand if David Engelman is also the author of an interesting book called Some, a story about the afterlife. Basically, it's like you sleep in the afterlife for 30 hours and you clip your toenails for 16 days. And it's weird. It's narrated by like Nick Cave and Emily Blunt and all this. This is an across-the-board condemnation of some of this stuff. He's wonderfully interesting, and really he knows his stuff, and they're studying a lot of interesting stuff. However, there is a certain lack of spirituality, but he's no Daniel Dennett, who's another super cognitive scientist who denies the existence of consciousness and is one of these guys that's kind of, he's really angry. He is dying to tell people that God is bullshit. That's kind of guys like Christopher Hitchens. Christopher Hitchens, God is absolutely bullshit. It's a friend of mine, a guy I really like. He's gone on to be very successful in comedy. Shane Moss. He's kind of like a Joe Rogan kind of guy. And I think he's a huge fan of that type of thing. Don't know if he doesn't believe in God. I don't think he and Rogan do not believe in God. They are definitely interested in DMT, though not quite, DMT mixed with any spirituality. That's why I always go back to saying this stuff when I talk to guys, but it's like the Americans and first world people, they're basically doing the same thing that people in, Peru, indigenous people are doing, but they fast track it. And they get technology, and they get in a tank full of water, like Dr. John Lilly at Harvard. See the movie Altered States. If you're in a real mood for a weird thing, Altered States. I think I talked about get in the deprivation tank and drop different drugs or something. It's like the Americans hit it hardwired, hard high tech. And there's just something in me that doesn't think still that it doesn't compete with the natural way. Okay, I've done about 20 videos on here bullshitting about Aleister Crowley, the great occultist, the great beast. And I definitely have that feeling that he was really smart. He's a tough, articulate Englishman, and he's nutty, and people call him Satanist and stuff. He denies that. He says you have to be a consecrated priest to do a black mass. Black mass, whatever. And there's a part of me that regards the guy as a complete bullshitter. He's not in the league of a real yogi, a real swami, a real Taoist. You know, he achieves the. He's a willful guy. He'll climb to the top of Mount Everest or the K2 or whatever, and he'll do all the yoga moves. But he's, you know, he showed not. He was an imbalanced guy. He was clearly some sort of sex addict, drug addict, fucking lunatic. So he's not a Taoist master who goes to a cave somewhere and does the work without completing getting high. No ego detachment. The guy bragged about it all the time, and he was a British intelligent asset, and on and on and on, and popular by other bullshitters like the Beatles. And um, you know, where was I going there? Yeah, there's just a natural way. There's a natural way to achieve these things that is also dangerous, because when the yogi, the swami, the master, the when they do this fasting and meditation, is dangerous. You know, and in the West, that there's a weird thing where there's just a, you know, a lot of energy among the scientists is to use everything they've got to prove that there's no existence, no afterlife. Daniel Dennett, there's no consciousness, there's no spirituality. You know, it's just that book Incognito probably goes a lot to do that. There's many descriptions of optical illusions that you've seen them. You know, the half a head and the guy's nose is this way, or there's a circle and there's red in the middle, and it's, you know, the mind fills in the gaps. It's a complete illusion. Then it goes, or there's beat lines. I mean, you know, yeah, Altered States. That movie is disturbing. Yeah, again, it's like a forced scientific look into these things that other cultures look into more naturally. Um, I'm not completely dismissing the Enlightenment or the Renaissance and all that, but there's this, you can read it in this era, this time period, that there's just this, the cognoscenti, the creative class, any sophisticated group is just hell bent on basically self admiration and what, you know, what they're calling science, which is another religion. You know, lately, me personally, I can't stand religion and science. It blocks thinking. Oh yeah, perhaps it was all about intention. That, you know what, that's truly right. You know, there's a weird thing. People are so, I hate to use this thing when I think about intention. It's like, have you ever been down to the mall and you meet the kids that are like into the heavy metal music, and it's really dark, and it's, you know, and they're into all these ghastly bands, and but it's, you know, they have their own aesthetic to it with the heavy metal, and it's very blasphemous and this and that. But on top of all that shit, the kids are nice, which is weird, you know. It's like, oh shit, there's those satanic heavy metal guys, but they're actually not the worst guy. That would be kind of a weird thing. Seeking enlightenment, yes, that is what we are here to do. And in any case, I totally, you know, I recommend that book completely. But where was I going with Mr. Robot would be an awesome show, which is, but it's incorporated this culture that's been since the, you know, in this millennium, the culture of the millennials, or whatever. It's a as we know from looking at channels like this one, you might know that we think in symbols, right? Different people talk about this, and it's now more than ever. So now we have the black hoodie. This is like the decade of the black hoodie that Elliot, the character, the protagonist of Robot, wears, and that the anti-fascist guys wear, which is a strange thing, because you could say, well, how could you not be anti-fascist? It's like when people say these things, are you against racism? It's like a loaded question. No, I'm for it. I mean, I have mixed feelings about that kind of thing. It looked like the God, I can't remember what was the one that it was interesting, and that something Wall Street, Occupy Wall Street. Let's call that up. Yeah, Occupy Wall Street would seem like a good idea, and that went away. Anonymous. Anonymous was so interesting and bizarre, and that was kind of in the vein of Mr. Robot. Anonymous. It's like Mr. Robot is a television show, and it blurs the line into reality. As Anonymous was a part of V for Vendetta. These movements and things come up, and then they disappear, right? It's like Bernie Sanders, the obsession with Sanders. And then Tulsi Gabbard and Sanders, they say some good points, and then they just disappear and endorse Biden. Yes, the QAnon. I like the idea of it, I admit. I prefer to just look at I actually just prefer personally to look at the crappy news. I mean, the excellent mainstream media skeptically. So some of these panacea guys that come up, I don't know. There's a lot of people that are obsessed with, for instance, Edward Snowden, which he's kind of a Mr. Robot kind of living character. See, the lines between, definitely without question, even the most mundane person would say the lines between pop culture TV shows and stuff like that and reality are blurring more than ever with this COVID-19. Which, if you look at Mr. Robot, there is definitely a more than fair amount of extras in that show, which I highly recommend, I guess, wearing the mask. The mask, which trailer loads of masks sold out every day at Home Depot or Lowe's or whatever, on the New York subway, which like the Warriors, the movie The Warriors, the subway is a character of Mr. Robot. I mean, is there a direct connection between the show? No. My filter is off, and I'm drawing connections. But it doesn't mean that the aesthetic or the feeling, and they say when this fsociety, which is similar to Anonymous, I believe somebody told me that the Anonymous group, whether it's bullshit or not, they were advisors to the program. The author is in it, Sam Ellis or something like that. He has a good YouTube on how he wrote it. He just does stream of consciousness. He basically says, I vomit it out and then I go with it or whatever. He's a good writer, no doubt. The dialogue is impressive. Rami Malek. I would say this would be one point that the millennials or whatever people who are almost exclusively socialists now, at least if the news to be is believed, probably aren't looking at some other aspects of it. Some of the villain characters, like this Tyrell Winnick guy in it, and his beyond beautiful wife in it, are evil, which I accept that, but they make them so evil in this show that it's almost a kind of a reverse racism. But that comes up like they're Swedish or something. They're beautiful looking Swedish people, and they're these villains, and everybody else is a, and the Trump people are not completely devoid of getting into their own kind of thing too, But definitely, it's just the Proud Boys versus the Mr. Robot hoodie guys, or the the hoodie of Trayvon. And sometimes, you ask yourself, it's like Trayvon Martin, the kid got killed or whatever. And it's sort of weird, that happened. Like, and I can understand, people be involved, very angry, and you sure, there's going to be unrest and stuff. But the symbol of the hoodie and the talk about it almost seems to trivialize the deaths. And that's been with these events all the time. It's almost like the Boston Marathon, and there's a Rubin, and there's Ortiz. No, not Ortiz. Great baseball player. Manny. No, not Manny. David Ortiz. It's like, this is our fucking city and so forth. And it's like, the spectacle, people are sad on it, but the spectacle of it is outdoing everything with emotion. And also, in each of these events, there's no response. There's been no, until now. Maybe they're talking about pulling out of Afghanistan. We hope so. Make peace with Korea. I have to get to the comment. The Watchers, no. They're all good as eye candy, so I'm very weary of getting into watching. I enjoyed the Breaking Bad. I think one thing they have in common is this incredible abuse of particularly young people. It's dark. In particular, a lot of the characters there's really no moral backbone to any character, and they all seem to have threads of suicidal tendencies, homicidal tendencies. And in this case, this is one of the darkest ones. The Elliot character actually he's completely disassociated personality. In fact, I don't know if they wanted to run it on a little bit. It was, these are dark. All these binge watching things are dark. And political, just like this virus is very political. I haven't seen the Ozark one or whatever. They all look pretty dark. The Penny Dreadful one, was tremendously aesthetic and interesting, but it consisted of extreme violence and overt black magic. I didn't know Seinfeld ended with disappointing chaos. I've always kind of loved the humor of Seinfeld, but I always thought it was strangely nihilistic, and the characters stand for nothing, do nothing. They accomplish nothing. They're not married. They don't procreate. They really are not in love. They have nothing to tie them to this world, and like Friends, you'd have to be a fucking millionaire to live in Manhattan, right? Ozark. Oh yeah, Sons of Anarchy. That was like, yeah, hyper, hyper. Even a guy who from the Hell's Angels and stuff like that, as violent as they are, they watch those shows. But holy shit, even I wouldn't do that. I mean, yeah, they're hyper violent, hyper weird. They try hard to give this tinge of realistic stuff. They probably lifted. I mean, The Sopranos, but and they have a tremendous. They're all like Freudian. Sopranos is very good. I mean, I love all these shows, but they clearly are helping to speed the end of Western civilization, of course, fast. Again, if you're gonna redo the Mr. Robot series, they should have me on. I could definitely be one of the bad guys. The acting is tremendous. Meryl Streep's daughter is the FBI woman. She's very intimidating. Very intimidating. And a good actress. I don't know if she's going to be in the league of the mother, but whatever. She was the ultimate portrayal of a very, very sophisticated life of an FBI agent in completely alone. Because this is something that is discussed in the media, but people haven't recognized that right now the jobs, the IT, the different thing are right now. I mean, slay me for saying this. Women have more PhDs now than men, and now the workforce is now majority woman now. I don't know if it's because of technology or it's deliberate and I find personally that men are not and I'm not what is that thing MGTOW whatever that's just ridiculous, but it's interesting. Women are on top of the game. They are highly motivated now. When you go to the gym, if we ever get to go back to the gym, because apparently they're dirty and they're COVID-19. Get COVID-19 and the dumbbells, you're fucked, right? I see it in their workout. Their workouts are more sophisticated than men. They're more focused. They when they do their running workout with or without their friends or whatever, their focus and intent, their willpower is now greater than men in the Western world. I've seen this in Europe too, except for Liechtenstein. No, where men are still men. No, I mean, does that not mean am I saying that the super duper 1% of the 1% that Mr. Robot oh, I have to review this message. It's asking me to review. Yeah, yeah, don't any of those guys get on there and yell at me, please. I'm not, it's a free country. You can be in your thing. It's just a fucking weird thing. I might be going to hell. I don't like any ism. I am for women. I don't even know what feminism is, and then now it's second wave feminism, third wave feminism. I certainly am not for badness. Any of these systems that come to bear by the priestly class or by the superiors, and this is kind of nihilistic to say, like I meant about the science, theology, or anything that we engage in, people have to remember that it's created by other people, and but so they should not get caught up in it. Where was I with that FBI agent? I wish I remembered her name on this. Because at first, she was like, wow, this is the FBI agent and Mr. Robot. Dominique DePiro is the agent. I thought at the first I didn't like her acting, then I get used to her, and she sort of you sort of maybe buy into her more than even a lot of the other characters. She depicts the ultimate Manhattan woman, right? She's alone. All she has is Alexa. She doesn't have a boyfriend. She's not a lesbian either. She doesn't even have a dog. All she has is her career. I've heard that, I don't know if it's LA too, but definitely Manhattan, the skills that women have are far superior to men in a lot of cases. And they're there and they can't get somebody for company because nobody can afford to keep up with it. MGTOW is feminism for men. There's a subsection who just have sex dolls. Well, how could they afford them, man? It's it's not even Marxism anymore because that doesn't exist either. It's a stylistic kind of synthetic left wing. And they're very angry. And they're like, what is it? Love trumps hate. Hate trumps love too, man. Hate is a powerful emotion. I think that what's his name? Oh yeah, not Joya, but the same. Yeah, Blade Runner. Are you talking about the yeah, basically the career robot woman, right? She would do anything for the. Well, it's not even the Tyrell Corporation. She would do anything for the new corporation. And yeah, there's a is it sex to say this? I mean, can anybody deny that there's now a I got way off topic into the superwoman. There's a superwoman now, kind of like the Milan Jalogovic, the Resident Evil woman, Neo's companion, Trinity. Oh, I mean, there's countless ones. The vampire woman, Underlord, over whatever, Angelina Jolie, and then she's now Emily Blunt, and it continues on. Is a don't exist, but they're in the form of a career warrior. Because let's face it, physical strength, things that guys do, are diminishing. You still type with the keyboard, typing speed, hand-eye coordination, empathy, emotiveness, the ability to be emotive. I'm partially making words up because I am a Neanderthal. Are definitely all things that women are possessed. So what are guys doing about it? They're getting definitely more feminine. Yeah, the whole both. In fact, I don't know. Am I out to lunch? Carnivore. What do you think? Um, yeah, the artificial divine feminine. I think both men and women now are getting more to that direction, probably because of the technology. That's what I've noticed. I don't consider myself a hard-edged guy with any swag or anything, and I'm definitely, but now I feel like I walk around and I'm just my energy is just defending the men and women now. I'm not like I've got to like turn it down. And it's appealing. Who's who I feel is the ultimate archetype of this is I can't remember her name. I got to look this up. She's a tremendous actress. Not the Inception character. Why can't I remember this name? Ellen Page. Ellen Page. I believe she is a can I say? Am I allowed to say gay woman? A lesbian? She's a lesbian. Is it even evil to question that? I don't mind. Good for her, which is excellent. That's not my point. I would say she's the ultimate archetype of these times. She's incredibly beautiful, very, very intelligent, and she's got this well-spokenness. She's the ultimate NPR type of person, NPR individual. I had an idea that a war would start because Putin made fun of her or something like that. I'm gonna go on. My next thing I'm doing my Stanislav Grof follow-up on his explanations of prenatal trauma. This is not to say that. Where was I going with Ellen Page? She's an irresistibly popular. She's an irresistibly compelling and likable character, and people like her or anybody who's has their picture taken by Annie Leibovitz. It's just a huge cult of personality that your LeBron James, your Colin Kaepernicks, your Barack Obamas, Hillary Clinton's, the list goes on. Pelosi, George Clooney, Brad Pitt, on and on. Very, very attractive people. But the one thing that they don't realize is that they just especially like Hillary Clinton. I mean, they all go. Obama is a good enough, talented enough politician and thoughtful looking guy, an attractive guy, and a great speaker that he can stay neutral on that. But what these people don't realize is they have the world has picked up on this deplorable thing. And this is the reason why, probably, like Joe Rogan says, I don't know, this endorsement comes with conditions, whatever, is that not only will Trump, win in 2020, probably his son will go on and on and on, because the creative class and other groups can't not call the hoi polloi, the great unwashed masses, the Rust Belt people, or as Julian Assange says, the white trash. They can't hide the fact that they can't stand them. So they'll never understand that. And there, it's going to come down to whose side is more truthful. I saw this thing of this big guy, and he appeared to be a nice fella, not hip, big fat fella, so delighted when Trump did the circled around the NASCAR thing. This was before this virus really took hold. But the guy was genuine. Whether or not Trump is phony or not is irrelevant. The guy got love from that. That sounds really corny. He's watching it. Are the people who, it looks like Biden might be the front runner. If you check out the YouTubes of a guy named H.A. Goodman, I'll leave him in the liner notes. He has predicted. If you look at my YouTubes, I put down in here that Trump would win early in 2015. I've got it in one of my goofy slideshow videos with the ridiculous music. But he says at the last minute Hillary Clinton will come in because Biden is not a real candidate, and she will lose. Unless, you can fix the election or whatever. Am I making any sense? Of which I don't know why they can't find a moderate guy to run against President Trump. Biden really isn't that way, and even his beloved supporters, if he really has any, have to admit that the guy's not lucid. Yes, I would love to hear your remote story. Las Vegas and Boston. Absolutely nothing to do with each other, which I like. Except both cities in their own way are absolutely full of shit. You've got gambling and rhetoric and academia. Hey, thanks, brother. Oh, yeah. All right, we'll do a show together. We'll get on here, man. All right, have a good night. I'll be getting on pretty soon, too. Yeah, H.A. Goodman. I mean, he says he was quite a massive Sanders supporter, and now he's moved into the realm of Trump based solely on non-interventionism. But nobody cares about that because politics is about getting jobs and stuff. Yeah. How do I really feel? They're all Illuminati. No, I don't know. This is to say that this is not to say that Mr. Robot isn't pre-predictive programming. What do they say? And in fact, one of the guys is like, they accuse him of being a crisis actor and he gets shot. For the record, don't really believe in any of that stuff. Alex Jones and John Ronson went to the Bohemian Grove. David Icke and Alex Jones are excellent entertainers. So don't put that on me. Do I want to endorse any candidate? Who knows? But we all need to start thinking about non-interventionism. So for tonight, I recommend Incognito, the book, and Mr. Robot. I hope they bring Mr. Robot back. I could be one of the bad guys on it. Peace. All right, maybe talk to you guys tomorrow night. It's Friday night with your good friend Stosh. I hope you liked what I said. Everybody out there, whether you're a Republican, Democrat, right or left, Tory, Labor, Tory, conservative or Labor, whether you're Nigel Farage or Trump or Bernie Sanders or Hillary or Barack, whatever you are, don't let all this stuff get us into a fight. It's not worth it. Because the only way we're going to beat this virus, and the incoming possible civil unrest and all that stuff is to not fight. As hard as it is. Very difficult. Control your emotions and fears. Fear is the mind killer. Rent Dune. All right. Sorry. I sound a little wacky tonight. Next time, we'll probably be on with Las Vegas Carnivore. We'll be talking about the remote viewing. Maybe we'll do a live session. Let's go to Mars. All right. Everyone have fun. Talk to you later. Ciao, ciao. God bless.